There is a ghost in the high Arctic, a landmass so remote that for centuries the world simply did not know it existed. While the great empires of the 19th century were carving up continents and charting the deepest reaches of the Amazon, this place remained a blank space, a white void on the map where the Atlantic meets the infinite ice of the north. It is Severnaya Zemlya, the North Land. It is the last major archipelago on Earth to be discovered, a prehistoric fortress of basalt and ice that stayed hidden until 1913, shielded by a curtain of fog and a frozen sea that refuses to let go. To arrive here is to leave the Holocene behind. You are stepping into a geological epoch that does not care for human life. The air is not just cold, it is a physical weight, a crystalline pressure that freezes the moisture in your eyes before you can even blink. Here, the geography is defined by paradoxes. It is a desert, yet it is buried under trillions of tons of water. It is a graveyard of ancient supercontinents, yet it feels like a world that was born only yesterday, raw and unfinished. Look at the horizon. It is dominated by the great domes. These are not mere glaciers, they are massive circular shields of ice that cover half the land like giant white mushrooms from another dimension. The Academy of Sciences glacier rises from the sea in a perfect, terrifying curve, a wall of translucent blue that stretches for miles. It is a cathedral of silence. There is no sound here except the occasional groan of the ice moving under its own impossible gravity, a slow tectonic thunder that vibrates in your chest. The ice here is so thick it deforms the very crust of the earth beneath it, a frozen crown that has sat undisturbed for 100,000 years. Beneath the ice, the bones of the world are exposed, massive basalt cliffs forged in the fires of the Earth's core during the breakup of ancient supercontinents, rise vertically from the dark, churning waters of the Vilkitsky Strait. These cliffs are stained with the rust of deep time. They are black, jagged sentinels that have watched the sun set for months at a time, enduring storms that would scour the skin from bone. There are no trees here, no bushes, no grass, only the lithosphere in its purest, most violent form. As we move inland, the landscape shifts into a surreal alien palette. For a few brief weeks in the height of the Arctic summer, the snow retreats just enough to reveal the red tundra. This is not the green of life we know. It is a deep, bruised crimson. Rare Arctic mosses and mineral deposits turn the ground into a landscape that looks like the surface of Mars. It is a world of blood-red stones and iron-stained streams, a vivid, jarring contrast against the blinding white of the distant ice caps. It is a reminder that even in the most hostile reaches of our planet, life finds a way to cling to the cracks, painting the wasteland in colors of defiance. In this void, the scale of everything is deceptive. You can walk for hours toward a mountain that never seems to get closer, lost in a perspective-shattering expanse where there are no trees or buildings to ground your sight. You are a speck of dust in a kingdom of giants. The wind here is a constant companion, a restless spirit that carves the snow into sharp, wave-like ridges known as sastrugi. These formations look like a frozen ocean, a sea of white thorns that make travel nearly impossible. If these landscapes stir something deep within you, if you feel the pull of the world's last horizons and the urge to see what lies beyond the edge of the map, take a moment to subscribe and like this video. Join us as we document the final, untouched frontiers of our planet, bringing the furthest reaches of the wild into focus. The inhabitants of this frozen kingdom are few, and they are ghosts. The polar bear reigns here not as a symbol of a changing climate, but as a primal apex predator navigating a world of absolute white. They are often the only moving things for hundreds of miles, blending into the drift until the moment they move. Alongside them are the ivory gulls, birds as white as the snow they nest in, and the massive, tusked walruses that congregate on the jagged shorelines, their low bellows echoing off the basalt walls like the voices of ancient gods. The climate here is an enemy to the unprepared. In the depths of winter, the temperature plunges to -40, -50, levels where metal becomes brittle and breath turns to ice dust instantly. The darkness is total. For months, the only light comes from the stars and the haunting, flickering curtains of the aurora borealis, green and violet fires that dance over the ice domes, reflecting off the frozen sea in a display of celestial light that no camera can truly capture. It is a haunting beauty, a cold fire that illuminates a land that was never meant for us. Severnaya Zemlya is a place of profound isolation. To be here is to understand what the earth was before we arrived, and what it will be long after we are gone. It is a land where time is measured not in hours or days, but in the slow retreat of glaciers and the erosion of mountains. It is a fortress of the old world, a remnant of the ice age that has somehow survived into the modern era, protected by its own lethality. The fjords here are deep and narrow, carved by the weight of the ice into the dark heart of the islands. In the summer, the sea is choked with icebergs, carved fragments of the great domes that float like ghost ships in the indigo water. Each one is a unique sculpture, carved by wind and wave into shapes that defy geometry. They glow with an inner electric blue light, the result of ice so compressed that it has squeezed out every bubble of air, leaving only the pure, refracted essence of the water. This is the end of the world, not a cinematic apocalypse, but a quiet, eternal frontier. It is a place that demands a different kind of respect, a realization that we are not the masters of this planet, but merely guests in a much larger, much older story. The Northland remains as it was when Wilkitsky first saw its outline through the fog over a century ago, a terrifying, beautiful, and utterly indifferent wilderness. As the sun low hangs on the horizon, casting shadows that stretch for miles across the frozen plains, you realize that Severnaya Zemlya is more than just an archipelago. It is a mirror. In its vastness, we see our own insignificance. In its harshness, we find the limits of our reach. It is the last great secret of the Arctic, a place where the map ends and the true, wild heart of the earth begins. We journey to these places not to conquer them, but to be reminded that there are still realms where the human footprint is unknown and where the silence is so deep it sounds like a heartbeat.